This is ESPR Boxing. Delighted as always to be joined by Elliot Grigg. We are reacting to the news that Conor Benn has been banned by Ukad. This is kind of a further development of the Conor Benn story, which has been going on since October, and we're now in April. So that's kind of a fair amount of time of all of our lives. Elliot, thank you for jumping on this with me. Where do you think this leaves where do you think this leaves Conor Benn now? We've been told for a while he's fighting June 3rd. He's fighting June 3rd in Abu Dhabi. Rumors of him fighting in America as well. Where does this leave him in the current situation?
Well, first off, thank you very much for having me. I think this leaves Conor Benn really with egg on his face and egg in his guns, as far as I can see. I think it's just further example, isn't it, really, of I think a lot of people, there's been growing sentiment that the truth will out. And I think fundamentally, the truth is kind of seeping out in various ways. You can go on Piers Morgan, Eddie Hearn can go on Talksport, whatever, and argue with Simon Jordan. But fundamentally, these are institutions that are sticking by kind of rigorous scientific practice. So when these sort of things happen, you should look at it and go, oh, okay, there's been a process here, and he's been banned for a reason. And all those people essentially saying, give him the benefit of the doubt, or maybe rolled over and he has missed his contraceptive pills, whatever it is, need to take a look at themselves. Really, I think this is coming out, and I think with regards to June 3rd, bad news. I think there's two things that I suppose are in play here. Obviously, from a sort of domino perspective, there's other drug-based agencies, WADA, VADA, with UKAD as well, who'll be taking obviously a look at this and thinking, is this necessarily something we want to be involved in? But also I suppose the kind of social, cultural, and perspective kind of analysis into it. You look at it and go, from a matchroom perspective, does Eddie Hearn want to be seen putting a Conor Benn fight on when he's kind of radioactive at this stage? That they've given it quite a lot of time, and it's not gone away, and people are still basically, still incredulous towards anything he essentially says. I don't think there's a groundswell of support or even kind of acceptance coming his way due to a lack of contrition, frankly, on his behalf. So yeah, I think there's those two elements in play, but I think June 3rd, I can quite easily see that being pushed backwards, to be honest with you, or if it's not pushed backwards, potentially being a smaller event than it would have been otherwise.
I think I'm going to be fascinated to see what the reaction is going to be when he does fight again, whether that is June 3rd, which is in 6.5 weeks, or whether it's in December, which is obviously in a few months. Would you be quite happy to not see him fight in June? Do you think, would you be unhappy if he did fight there? I just think that with all of this going on, what speaks out to me is that how can this go with all that's going on with UKADs, with the British Boxing Board of Control, with the fact that we still don't seem to know his defense. This 270-page report, which has now been shared with UKAD, isn't being known to the public. Yeah, what are your thoughts on what I've just said? How would you feel if it was announced tomorrow that Conor Benn is fighting on June 3rd?
I'll be annoyed, frankly, but I've been annoyed throughout this whole thing mostly because I just don't necessarily like being lied to. I'd prefer Conor Benn to come out and say that he had something in his system and it was through, the ingestion of I don't know, rhino horn or some sort of animal part that, that is known to potentially carry that substance in it. But I think, yeah, actually, to be perfectly honest with you, I said this to you earlier and I wasn't even joking. I almost find the drama of this more exciting, frankly. I find that the sense of, Conor Benn turning up to shows, putting out Instagrams, bringing Malcolm X into the debate, where whilst having kind of no real scientific backing, seemingly sort of phantom 270-page report, or at least a 270-page report which no one's allowed to read, which apparently is just 270 pages of eggs, images taken from Google, one after the other. I'm more excited by the actual drama around this than I am watching a Conor Benn fight kind of pensioners or people that are way past their best anyway. Like the guys, I said this before this whole thing started, frankly, so I feel almost like I'm able to say it again without, free from the kind of judgment that would come from, I suppose, the perspectivism of what's happened. But I feel like Conor Benn has been very, very carefully managed. I don't necessarily think Conor Benn's actually as good as people think he is. I don't like the guys he's beaten way past their best, struggle with guys that are obviously not past their best, will struggle with a puncher. I just feel like this for me is more exciting, frankly, to see the whole drama, the whole reaction around boxing media, boxing people inside and outside. Benn himself, Eddie Hearn, just dragging all these people through the mud is more exciting to me than watching Benn, fight 8 rounds or 10 rounds against a 55-year-old Manny Pacquiao.
Um, okay. Yeah, I don't think I've got many. I think I've not got too much else to say. I think it's one thing I would say is that it's for me, it's been a shame that this has dominated the headlines for so long with a small amount of progress being made. Conor Benn's stablemate Joe Cordina fights for a world title on Saturday, and at the press conference on Thursday, no one's really going to be talking about Joe Cordina. People are going to be
Mm.
asking Eddie Hearn and the other people at the zone about Conor Benn, and this isn't the only fight week that it's happened. And for me, that's one of the frustrating things. Final question from me to you, Elliot, is what do you think's going to happen? Do you think this is going to rumble on? Do you think we're going to see Conor Benn in the ring anytime soon? Do you think more kind of do you think that Conor Benn might try and get around fighting in June and kind of get blocked by different governing bodies? Obviously, kind of he's been cleared by the WBC. Could that maybe get changed? What do you see happening in the next kind of month or so here?
I think it will rumble on, frankly, because unless there's a sort of firm statement from someone essentially going Conor Benn is banned for this amount of time for this punishment, or Conor Benn himself comes out and goes, yes, all right, fair play, I hold my hands up, I did this. There's no like resolution. Well, fundamentally, that's what we want, don't we? We want a resolution. I don't actually think he'll potentially fight on the 3rd of June, or the first weekend of June, whenever it was initially being touted. But I also don't think that the reason for him not fighting on that date will be admitted as being to do with this. I mean, I can quite easily see it being pushed. I can see it being a reason given, like couldn't find an opponent necessarily, or needed a longer camp to come back after this layoff, whatever it is. So I can see it being delayed, but what I cannot see is anyone, a mouthpiece from that sort of from the promotional company or surrounded by Benn himself actually admitting that it's in any way to do with the issues that are unresolved that he's currently still going through.
And we'll leave it there. Elliot Grigg, thank you very much for your time. This is obviously an ongoing story. It is the 18th of April today, 2022. We could still be 2023 today. Sorry, we could still be talking about this April 18th, 2024. I think that's a genuine possibility. But yeah, it's an ongoing story, and we'll see what changes. But Elliot, thank you very much for your time, and I'll speak to you again soon. Okay.
Thank you very much, and as always, thank you very much, guys, for watching.